Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Master.
This is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and Lydia, you laugh because Derek didn't say something silly.
I was gonna say that she was probably like anticipating something ridiculous, and
I think
I
think I laughed out of habit because I laugh every single time.
Last week's
like,
was
it wasn't even funny. It's just a habit at this point.
Yeah, well, last week's was something else. You did say close to the tree and then never explain that story, so that's hilarious.
Maybe I will explain it this week. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know, but it just literally is just, like completely means nothing. People are probably like, what the hell does that mean? Is he like making love to trees? I don't know. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing okay. I'm a little paranoid, guys.
Why?
Jake has COVID and he's quarantined to the couch. So I'm just like trying not to get it. So
Hey, I lived that same life 2 weeks last week. Same life. So far I'm not in the clear. She's past it now. But yeah, I mean I had the same thing.
Oh man, I'm battling this ridiculous system that we have here in the United States called daylight savings time. I don't know who the idiot that thought that was a great idea, but they can take that and shove it.
Right.
It is rough. It can be. I always say, like, the first couple weeks of daylight savings time is rough. Definitely the first week. It takes you a little bit to get acclimated. And then when you jump forward in the spring, it is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is a real statistic. I forget the specific percentage, but it's fairly significant. Heart attacks increase the Monday after daylight savings time. When like we lose the hour. Yeah. I'm thinking 20%. Like of the average heart attacks per day, it jumps like 20% that day following daylight savings time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
weird how like something like that can like really affect you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
we're creatures of habit.
I mean, like
man.
my brain doesn't recognize time. So like I don't even notice what's going on, but like
is that why you're always late to the podcast?
That's why I'm always late to everything in my life. I'm like, what is time? I have plenty of it. I've got plenty. Like, and then I'm like, oh, now I don't have enough, and then I start panicking, but then I'm, I don't know how time works for everyone else, but for me it's just a number that is made up, and daylight savings time just proves that to me. Solidifies how fake time is.
Time. Fake news.
It's time is a fire in which we burn. Anybody know what that's from?
No.
I thought you made it up. I was like, oh.
Time is a fire in which we burn. I'm pretty sure that's from one of the Star Trek movies where
maybe
the next generation goes back in time and
Generations? Star Trek.
Yeah, meets Kirk. Yep, the bad guy there.
Yep.
Time is a fire in which we burn. Like, I agree with that.
I thought it just was I agree with Lydia. I thought it was just one of your phrases, like, the body is but a vessel for the soul, something like that.
Yeah, mine's way more poetic than what that guy said.
Derek's like, I just say that sometimes.
I say that sometimes. It's a BIT.
You just like something I say. Poetry.
So as you can tell, I have a new set behind me. I got moved upstairs to make room for the bidet that's going to be here in May. So
you guys are getting a bidet?
Yes, a bidet. Yeah.
In the office.
I know that's the thing, but I don't even know what it is.
You don't know what a bidet is?
What's a bidet? Oh, isn't that the toilet thing?
Yeah.
That cleans your backside? All right. See, I did know what it was.
Yeah.
Cleans the tush.
Yeah. It's like a outlet for your bum. Anyway,
we should probably move on to the horror news.
Sure. This is off the rails for sure. Yes, Derek, that's such the best segue I've ever heard that you just gave. But it is time, before we talk about James Wan's super influential 2004 flick, Saw, we will talk about the horror news. So I've got some big horror news that we kind of talked about a little bit off mic, but we'll discuss it, dig deep in here. But first, let's get into the little ones. So Derek, this one's for you. You know, you're all about wanting to see that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie, correct?
F yeah, I do.
Okay. So the director of that movie has his next story planned out, and he's wanting to do a twisted horror take on Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
Yeah, you know what? Is he a child kidnapper?
Probably,
I mean,
I guess.
that would make sense.
I mean, he's already that.
Yeah.
Neverland.
Yep. I mean,
He's already a
that's
kidnapper.
Yeah, he doesn't say much else except that's his next one he's wanting to tackle is Peter Pan. What are you guys' thoughts on this guy just turning public domain children's stories into horror flicks?
Keep them coming. Keep them coming. If I win this $1.9 billion lottery, you got your funding, buddy.
No, you're going to fund our movies, Derek.
I can do both with that much money. What are you kidding?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to hold out and wait and see what this Pooh movie's about. I have my reservations about the quality of such a film. How about you, Lydia?
Yeah, I just Pooh is just such a nostalgic thing for me, I guess, that it's hard to I don't think I'm gonna like the movie either way. Even if it's good, I'm not gonna like it.
We'll have to see it. We'll have to review it when it comes out. So
try reading. Sorry about this. Try reading The Lion King to a 4.5-year-old from like the book side, because it's just like, yep, I don't want to tell you about the part where Scar kills his dad.
Right, the murder.
You just
Well, you just let him see the movie, and then he'll know.
I mean, that is true, but he's got the book, and
The Lion
like
King
an
is where it's out.
instinctual like life lesson that Disney just helps people deal with death.
Yeah,
right?
your uncle is probably going to try to kill your father.
Yeah, Hansel and Gretel, man. Like every time we get to the
exactly.
part where like the parents take the kids into the woods and drop them off, I'm like, we would never do that to you, just so you know. Like,
that's a good way to do it. You should probably say, unless you don't clean your room.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you don't
to
listen.
Bad
Clark.
children.
Yeah, you're like, so Hansel and Gretel didn't clean their room, so their parents dropped them off. Not that we would do that to you, but I'm just saying it's a thing that happens. You might want to, keep that in the back of your little noggin.
Exactly.
So a few weeks ago, we talked about they're doing a Strangers remake trilogy. Remember this?
Yeah, I saw an advertisement for it.
Yeah, and it's directed by Rennie Harlan, the director of Dream Master and Exorcist: The Beginning and tons of Cliffhanger. Well, guys, the trilogy of films is already wrapped.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
So they filmed all of them?
They filmed them all back to back to back.
Huh.
It's filmed in Slovakia, but all of them have wrapped. So that means that we're going to start getting these guys popped out here shortly, I would imagine. I don't think we have a release date. I don't see a release date. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I guess it's a really convenient way to do it,
It is. I mean, if you have enough money to make 3 movies, I guess, and you can do them on the quick and cheap, you might as well do them. The downside, of course, is always you're not going to know if to tweak something if it's not well received. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just kind of locked in for the next one. I mean, I guess you have them so you could do reshoots conceivably as well. But yeah, are you guys excited for this trilogy remake?
It depends. It depends maybe like who's in it, I guess. I don't know the cast. But the Strangers actually scared me pretty good, so you know, I'll judge it by the trailer. I'm not gonna make any quick decisions quite yet.
Yeah,
What do you think, Derek?
I see a lot of upside in the way that they did this, because it says to me they had a vision, and for better or for worse, they got to put it into film. So good for them. I want to watch them.
Yeah, I mean, the first Strangers is fairly dark and scary. The second one's kind of bitchin' and fun. So we'll get into those. So I'm interested to see what tone they go through with these. Lydia, this news is for you.
My heart stopped a little bit. I was like, ugh. What is it?
Danny Boyle is tempted to direct 28 months later.
Oh, okay.
He said
any more?
He
Tell me
said
more.
Boyle in an interview said that Garland, which is the Alex Garland, the screenwriter, has already wrote a script for 28 months later a couple of years ago, and he thinks now might be a good time to make it.
Ooh.
So it's something he's thinking about. Would you guys be up for a third film in that franchise? Directed by Danny Boyle, of course.
Absolutely.
You're muted, Derek. That was early.
I know. I was
Yeah.
at the beginning of this. I'm like, that's not going to happen this time. Things got out of the way early. I'm excited to see where they take us on this little journey.
Yeah, we still have to do 28 weeks later, but 28 days later, we've already reviewed and quite liked it.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
So let's look forward to that, hopefully. I'm excited. We got this little bit of news here. Louis Pullman, who is, by the way, the son of Bill Pullman, and was in this year's fantastic film, Top Gun Maverick, is the star of the remake for Salem's Lot. And he says that the remake is very faithful to the novel. So he says the director is really keen on doing justice to the book, but also the previous adaptation was a two-parter, so it's not going to be quite that. He said Stephen King, he is a Stephen King hound dog, so doesn't want to do Stephen King dirty. The release date for that is 2023. We don't have a month. What are you guys' thoughts on the Salem's Lot remake? And are you excited that it's going to be a close adaptation of the novel as opposed to just loosely adapted?
I never read the novel.
I'm excited. I never read it either.
So,
but you've seen the film, right?
I have seen the film. I mean, it's been what that thing came out in the 80s,
70s.
Early 80s, the 70s. So, like,
yeah,
I haven't seen that movie in 30 years.
We might have to do it. It's a Toby Hooper movie.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that one.
But I do think that is one that probably is prime for a remake. So I think that sounds like it makes sense.
How about you, Lydia?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's I'm ready for a remake for that one because, I mean, it's definitely like the movie's dated, you know, and I think I think a lot of people have probably forgotten about it. It doesn't get talked about much.
They did a TV remake in the early 2000s with Rob Lowe.
I remember that. I remember seeing the previews. I never watched it.
Yeah, it's all right, but it existed. So here we have this bit of news. Scream 6 has a release date change. It is now coming out on March 10th, 2023. It was March 31st. So it looks like they're pushing up the release date, which is an encouraging sign, as opposed to pushing it back. If you guys don't remember, Scream 6 takes place in the Big Apple.
Mhm.
So it's New York, Scream takes Manhattan, I guess. Are you guys excited about
Can't
the
wait
new
for you to tell
Scream?
that one. I gotta see the fifth one.
Oh,
before
you
I
still haven't
commit
seen
to.
part 5.
I have
Yeah.
not either. Gosh, there's so many
Guys,
good movies coming out.
You got to
Don't
get
have time
on
for all
part
of them.
5 so we can talk about it. You got to get on
Yeah.
part 5 so we can talk about it. I went to the theater and saw it. It's okay. I'm cautiously optimistic about it, Scream 6. I mean, we have a returning Gale Weathers. We have a returning Kirby, the survivors from the last movie, which I can't tell you who they are because then you'll know. But we don't have Sidney Prescott because they refused
Right.
to pay her. So there is that whole debacle.
It's kind of like that one time when they decided to make a Halloween movie, but without Michael Myers.
Yeah. Yeah, not the best decision.
That worked out
Not
well.
the best decision.
Yep.
So, guys,
lady.
I have one more piece of horror news. It's the big one. It's the big one. It is about Peacock has a new TV series coming out, which is Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes.
Set in the Friday the 13th universe. Originally, the original blurb was that it was, a prequel series. And originally the thought was, that's because they only have rights to the first movie. Because as we know, the rights are split up. Victor Miller owns Friday the 13th, Camp Crystal Lake, and Young Jason. And Horror Inc. owns Adult Jason and Hockey Mask and all the stuff that we know is Friday the 13th. Well, the good news is both Horror Inc. and Victor Miller are working together to produce this movie, or to produce the series. So all of Friday the 13th canon is available, which means we're going to see Jason, guys.
Fuck yes.
How excited does this make you?
I'm excited. I hope this series is good though. It would ruin me if the series just came out and was not good or up to my standards.
The showrunner is Brad Fuller, who of course has done multiple things. The most importantly, Hannibal. He did the Hannibal TV series, which is phenomenal. And he's a huge Friday the 13th fan. And guys, it's been almost 15 years since we've seen Jason in a new adventure.
No way.
So, yeah, 2009.
Are you serious? Oh my god.
That's making me feel old.
Yeah.
I know, Lydia.
Eesh.
Yeah, it's been literally exactly 13 years. But yeah, and by the time this comes out, it'll probably be close to 15 years since we've seen Jason on screen. And
I remember when it came out. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So on this series, we're going to see Jason.
Symmetrical.
Yep, we're going to see Jason on screen for the first time, probably. We're going to see.
Probably.
We will. I mean, he'll have to. What's the point of making a Friday the 13th movie or show without Jason coming at some point? And if it's any bit like the Chucky series, then we should be in good hands because it's very fun.
Man, I need to watch that too. Ugh, I'm slacking.
Yeah, I haven't watched all the second season. I haven't caught up on the second season, but the first season was a blast. Had a lot of fun with it. So, guys, that's exciting news. I'm really pumped about this. We don't have a release date. We just know that, it's on the way. We're going to get us a Friday the 13th. Oh, also, I forgot to mention that it's also produced by A24. I'm in. Give me some Jason.
Yep.
So more news on that when it comes. We'll keep you posted, of course. We'll be covering that bad boy like crazy. Because Jason's one of our boys. Now, if we can only get Fred, he just needs to get something going on, man. It's been almost as long. It's been 12 years since we've seen Freddie on screen last. Insane.
So crazy, man.
That's
Time.
really weird.
That damn fire.
Yeah. God damn you in the fire of time. Jesus Christ. So, guys, let's talk Saw. this week we watched James Wan and Leigh Whannell's 2004 Saw. Isn't that crazy? 2004.
Oh my
Put you
gosh.
guys back in 2004.
I
Derek,
can't.
you were graduated and in college.
I was. Yeah.
I was a senior in high school.
I was like
Lydia,
a baby, I think.
You were a little kid. You were a baby.
No, I wasn't. I'm trying to do the math. I can't. I'm really bad at, like I said, I'm really bad at keeping track of time.
All right. 18 years ago, what would that make you?
18 years ago. I'm 29.
All right. So that would have made
About
you.
11. Right?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. What grade is that? What grade is 11? Like fourth grade or something?
Second. No, second.
I don't know.
Yeah, about
Genuinely
fourth
don't know.
grade, I think.
Yeah, about fourth grade. Yeah, because you're
That doesn't make sense to my.
no,
Mine, you're in like
because
third grade.
yeah. So I think you'd be close to junior high.
Yeah, that's when I
12 and
remember
13?
watching it. Yeah. I remember watching it around junior high time for sure.
Yeah, 12, 13 would be like junior high years because 14 through 18 is high school. So yeah,
Okay,
I'd say 11. You're about sixth grade.
Yeah,
into
and I
seventh.
think I watched it late, so I was probably older than when it came out. You know what I mean? I was older than 11.
Let's talk about our first times watching it. Let's start with you.
Yes. Okay. I was really excited because I remember like this being one of like the movies I was so afraid to watch. I remember it coming out and my dad bought it, so it had been out for a while, and I remember like just hearing a lot of people talking about it. It was all over the place. And how terrifying it was, everyone in school is talking about it. And one day I'm just like getting curious and I'm like, what's Saw, Dad? Like, what is this movie? Like, I'm looking through his DVDs. Yeah, I'm like, what is this? Is this too scary for me? And he's like, I think you can watch it. And I was horrified. I was so scared to watch this movie. I'm like, okay, let's put it on. Like, let's watch it. It's like broad daylight, like outside, and we're like sitting here watching this movie. And I made it through it, and it was like one of those moments for me where I was like, I'm proud of myself for making it through like what I thought was the scariest movie. I thought it was the scariest movie ever made. Like, that's how it had been described to me by like everyone except my dad, who was like, oh yeah, you can watch it. But remember that my dad showed me Scream when I was like 6 and it scarred me for life. So, maybe he wasn't the best judge.
He's got a good track record.
Yeah, it's like I remember just loving it and being so happy with it, and I was scared, but I loved it at the same time, So
yeah, that's how you know you got a good one.
Yeah,
Derek,
for sure.
What about you?
So I know I didn't see this movie in theaters. I am sure that I watched it sometime in college. I don't know when I first watched this movie. I haven't watched it a lot. So this is probably my third time maybe watching this movie, and I haven't seen it in at least a decade. So, oh man, but it's a good movie. I love this movie.
Yeah, I watched it when it came out on DVD as well. I didn't watch it in theaters either. I not because I wasn't interested, but I had a lot of other stuff going on, so I just never saw it. So I went and I rented it when it came out. I remember watching it by myself at Mom and Dad's. We used to have one of those big ass projector TVs. You remember those guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Used to have one of those big ass projector TVs, and the thing was going out, so the movie was dark as fuck, and I had to like crank up the brightness to be able to see what the hell was going on. So then I was able to watch it. But yeah, I watched it and liked it. I remember not really knowing, like figuring out bits and pieces of it as it was going on. Like, well, I think I know there's something to do with that guy. I 100% know who Jigsaw is immediately. Like, as soon as I watched it, I was like, oh, it's that fucking guy. But him standing up, I didn't expect that. That's a great bit. And then Danny Glover, I'm just like, kind of like, what the hell's this point in this movie? Like, what is he doing?
Right.
I was like, where the fuck is Riggs? He could have helped out tremendously. So yeah, I liked it a lot, and then I've seen it, of course, several times through the years, and I've went through the gamut and watched all of these things. I've seen them all at one point or another. So we'll have to get into the sequels. But I will say this without giving away my rating for this movie that all the sequels pale in comparison to this one. They just don't reach the heights of this one, in my opinion. But some of them are a lot of fun. Some of them are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So let's dig into it. What do you guys want to talk about first? Let's talk about James Wan first. This is one of his first features.
Guys,
and
I
you can
didn't realize...
see...
Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, you could see James Wan's his style already in this movie.
I was just gonna say, I did not realize like how big of a James Wan fan I am. I think I picked like all of his movies.
You have, I mean, I think you have. You and Derek. I think
just about every single one.
I think I picked Dead Silence because I wanted to see it because I haven't watched it in a while. But yeah, I think I picked Malignant. That's what I picked. I think I
picked Malignant.
Did you? One of us did.
Yeah, I know I picked Malignant. You might have picked Dead Silence. I can't remember now, but either way, like I would pick them all over again because they're all so good. I didn't realize like I'm actually a huge fan of his.
Yeah, makes good
now
movie.
I know. Now I know.
Aquaman's great too. If you haven't watched Aquaman, go and see it. It's good.
Wait, what? What do you mean Aquaman?
He directed Aquaman.
He's directing the sequel too.
Yeah.
I did not like Aquaman, guys.
Oh, well, you don't like all of James Wan's movies.
I really hated Aquaman. I did not realize that. Okay, I take back everything I said. Let's move up.
So you're like a
Guillermo del Toro. We move up M. Night Shyamalan one more slot.
Well, luckily we have John Carpenter with a pristine track record, just still sitting up here at the ceiling.
There. Yeah. I don't. Every time I think of directors, my mind goes straight to Guillermo del Toro, and then M. Night Shyamalan. It's like they're. I don't know why. Those are my guys. I want to hang out with them.
When you have Wes Craven and John Carpenter and I don't know Steven Spielberg.
I know, like there's so many like amazing directors, and I'm just like, M. Night Shyamalan is my guy.
Fucking M. Night Shyamalan. The Village can get out of here.
That's my favorite.
I know you guys are stupid, but that's fine.
You can't just call us stupid on your podcast, Jamie.
So I am legitimately curious because I thought that the main person was hidden pretty well within the movie. So like other
Jigsaw?
his voice, yeah, like the actual person who is Jigsaw, because the red herring, is pretty prevalent, right? You know, like at the beginning.
So
I didn't. For the record, I missed it. I missed it this time.
I knew, and I've seen the first time I saw it, and here's why. It's because, so when we first see when he's in the room and he's delivering his, his diagnosis of Jigsaw, John Kramer, and he's talking about him, and and then he says, the guy's like, he's got a name, his name is John Kramer, and I was like, well, that's interesting. Why did they point that out? And then of course they make the red herring because that guy's the killer. But I was like, no, we saw his face way too early. That can't be him. Then when he's with Tap and the detective, he says, there is a disease eating me alive inside. I was like, oh, that's that guy from the fucking hospital bed.
I mean, there are some subtle clues. I'll give you that. But, the reason why I felt like it was very prevalent that guy was the red herring, the janitor, which, by the way, the twist at the end, whenever, I don't know if we want to talk about that right this minute, but
Yeah, we'll get to it.
It's a very well crafted movie, and there's a lot.
No, the story is great. Yeah,
Psychological
and there's
points to it that are amazing.
Yeah. When we were talking about James Wan, you can see the flourishes that start to become the James Wan-isms. Like, there's a bit early in the movie where we're at the interrogation room and we pan down the table and it transitions us back into the Saul room where the shitty bathroom where our characters are. There's one of those moves in the way the camera switches down into the transition. I was like, oh, that's such a fucking James Wan move. And then there's another bit where we have when we go into Gordon's first flashback, how he's in the foreground, and then the flashback fades to the side, and then it fades into the whole screen. I was like, oh man, James Wan was, working his craft super early. Like, he was shot listing this son of a bitch, and he was storyboarding it. He knew exactly what he was shooting when he made this movie. And it's very good and tight and suspenseful.
Yeah.
It's so suspenseful.
Well, also, I think the thing that makes this movie super unique is like the motivation behind the killer. Like, it's legitimate. These people take their lives for granted. They take the people in their lives for granted, and he kind of puts that in their face and like, do you have anything to live for? Like the one lady who's go ahead. You were gonna say something?
No, keep talking. I was gonna say the use of the word legitimate may not be the best way, because he still is a psychopathic murderer. Like, he's still kidnapping people.
Well, I mean, I definitely
Let's
agree
say
with
we
you.
don't
It's
condone
not
it.
the approach I would
condone it.
take. Yeah, it's not the approach I would take, but it is a very in-your-face, like the lady who was a drug addict, and
Amanda, she comes to play a lot in the next two seasons.
Yeah, and so she what did she have to live for? And then he
Played
pointed
by
out
Shawnee Smith.
Yeah, exactly. So I love the motivation that he has.
Yeah, it's a very
dying.
unique and interesting. Yeah, it's a very unique and interesting motivation. The whole setup to the story is very unique and interesting.
Yeah.
Shawnee Smith, as you said, plays Amanda, who was last seen on the podcast playing in The Blob, the 1988 remake of The Blob.
But that's right.
One of our early successes and one of our favorites, actually. We all quite love that movie.
Yep.
It's a good one. So yeah, the setup is great. I love the setup that we basically just go right into this movie and we're thrown in with these two characters and we know nothing about them, and the story gets piecemealed to us as it goes on. So more layers are pulled back about who these people are, what their motivations are, that sort of thing. So we have Adam, who's played by the writer of Saw, Leigh Whannell. And we have Dr. Gordon, played by Carrie Elwes, who, unlike other Robin Hoods, can speak with a British accent.
Unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.
I was gonna at some
Some
point
men in tights for you guys.
Yeah, at one point I was gonna point out his because we just watched The Princess Bride today. Clark watched it for the first time, and there's a point where there's a point where he was talking to his wife, and she's like, "I just wish that you would show anything of emotion or something along those lines," and I just wish he would have went, "As you wish."
As you wish.
Yeah, he's great.
He is good in this movie. I like.
Yeah, he's good in this movie. He's great in other movies. His accent slips a couple times.
Yeah.
Happens.
Yeah.
And so does Leigh. Lee's slips a couple times too. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
What's his native?
Yeah. They're both Australian. He and James Wan.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't pick up on any he slips. But
Man, the
So-
Australian accent though is the coolest, right?
Yeah, it can
Yep.
be. Yeah, it depends on which Australian you're going with. We're doing like the crocodile. Good day, mate.
Any
it's
of it,
just
literally
above.
any of it, I am
Yeah.
okay with.
It's just above the Canadian accent.
You like a Canadian accent?
No, I was just joking. I don't like
Oh.
Canadians.
What are you talking about, Derek?
Hey, you better stop it, A. All right, now we're just. Yeah, I'll cut this part. It's terrible.
So, yeah, the setup is great, and we're introduced to these two characters, and I like how we get a slow burn. I like how the first, let's say, like 20 minutes of the movie, we really don't leave that room. Like,
Yeah.
we're pretty much in there with them trying to figure it out, and then then we go through the flashbacks and flash forwards and everything, and we see. I like the way that the movie plays with time a lot. Like because I mean, it is a construct that doesn't even make sense, right, Lydia?
Exactly.
But I like how they we don't really know where we are. I mean, we're led to believe we're a certain point in the timeline, but we're actually further than we thought. Is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it all kind of catches up.
Yes. Then we all catch up. So let's talk about the characters of. What do you guys think of the characters of Dr. Gordon and Adam?
It's interesting, right? Because they kind of set up like this idea that like kind of everyone is doing something bad, like everyone has these like flaws that are like character flaws that you're supposed to not
Which is
like
to be
them,
human.
kind of.
Yeah.
To be human. It's like everybody kind of has them, but some people tend to be worse than others, or what, however, especially in these movies, I mean, specifically. But
of course, yeah.
But I love them both. I love both them as actors, so it's like I just love them anyways,
Compared to the other people that like whenever Dr. Gordon goes into because at one point he was a suspect. Right. And so when you get the backstory of some of the people that have survived, now actually there's only been one survivor, but like some of the people who have been put through these trials, if you call them, they I don't know, I felt like their situations were a little more different. So like Dr. Gordon's he's having an affair.
And not paying attention to his family. Yeah.
Not paying attention to his family. And Adams, I think, is the weaker of the two. Like he is a kind of a detective in a way. Like
kind of what you would consider a private investigator, but without the investigation part, more just the picture taking, the surveillance.
Yeah, like a paparazzi almost.
Yeah.
Because at one point in Jigsaw's message, he says that he's a voyeur.
Yeah, it's more like his weakness was the living
Observing
his life through other people. Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas the one guy who they go through the crime scene and he's like all in the barbed wire. At one point, he tried to kill him. Yeah, and so like Jigsaw more or less pointed out, do you want to live? If you do, you got to make your way through this maze of. I think it was barbed wire or like
razor wire.
Razor wire.
Yeah, razor wire.
To get out of this thing, and then what was her name? Amy.
Amanda.
Amanda. Dang it. We had mentioned she was a drug addict, and like she had that apparatus that was going to tear her head off.
Yeah, the reverse bear trap. Yeah, it's one of the best, most iconic saw traps. And then there's the dude that catches himself afire.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. That's impossible. That one's impossible.
Yeah,
there's no way that you are going to figure out what the combination is. There's no way.
What do you think of the traps in this one? actually. I mean, the trap. So this is where the focus is on the story. Later in the series, the focus is on the traps. What kind of crazy traps.
Yeah.
And
The
that's
traps
not
are
the purpose.
good, though.
The traps are really interesting in this movie, though, because we're playing the long game with Gordon and Adam, and then we get these little three previous traps that had happened, and then we find out that we're actually playing 2 games at the same time. But before we get that twist, it's like oh, okay, so we get the razor wire trap, the bear trap, and then the guy that catches himself on fire. But we don't really see the traps in motion because this movie isn't gory.
It's not.
When you think of a Saw movie,
thriller, yeah.
Yes, when you think of a Saw movie, you think of the crazy kills and the gore because that's what the sequels are. But Saw is not. Saw is not. It is a psychological thriller. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and they're the 2 main characters. Their situation is super basic. I mean, they're essentially chained to pipes in an abandoned room with a dead body in the middle of it. There's a gun out of reach. Yep. There's a gun that's out of reach, and there is a mini
tape recorder,
voice recorder. Yeah, which they are able to get to. So, the trap is very, very simple.
Yes,
which is different than the other ones. I think the other ones were more elaborate.
Yes, and the other ones, and then when we get to the sequels, they're more legit death traps. Yeah. This one is it's kind of a catch-22, but not really, because if they played by the rules, they probably could have got out.
Not only that, I actually feel like the doctor had a really good opportunity to get out. First off, when they start trying to saw their way through the main parts of those chains, that's a mistake. Because you're going to have to saw through both links to get away.
Yeah.
Whereas if you did the lock itself, you only have to saw one piece because the other one hinges off. Anyway, not getting into that, but yeah.
So the story, they're just tied up and they're stuck here. And what are they going to do to get out? And then we get piecemealed. Different bits are fed through us. We find out that, like you said, Derek, that Gordon was the main suspect in this crime. And what's really cool is I like the way it plays with time with Detective Tap's storyline, right? So we get Tap's storyline, and he's introduced as, this detective that's trying to solve this case. Then we cut to him in a room with papers all over him and shit, and he's watching Gordon's house. Yeah. So we're assuming that he's just, on a stakeout. And then the next time we see him, he's in the police station looking at the footage, and that's when they actually catch Jigsaw. They have him. They have him dead to rights. And just due to poor planning, he gets away. What do you guys think of that scene where he gets away? Because there's so non-linear, there's no way to go in order. So let's just talk about that.
Lydia, go ahead if you had a point. I don't want to dominate this. Go for it.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it just because I kind of just went with it. Obviously there's a ton of things that you could take apart and be like, oh, he should have done this or he should have done that. Or,
of course. Yeah. Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, it's well, he got away. That's just how they wrote it. That's how I felt.
Your instinct is immediately be like, shoot him in the fucking face.
Exactly. Fucking shoot him already. Or at least take off his hood so you know who it is if he gets away. That you can try to find him. That's what me and Jake were screaming at the TV. Take off his hood.
Yeah.
Well, so he gets away because of Danny Glover's obsession, essentially, because he recognizes something in one of the footages that he leaves behind, one of the videotapes for his victims. They recognize some gang graffiti.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, instead of going by the book, hey, let's, tell our superiors, let's tell somebody. let's get a warrant and all this stuff, or having some sort of backup and going. They're just like, let's go like do this thing. So they don't have a warrant. They go and they find this person and they try to put him back because Jigsaw's coming in. There are 100 different ways that they messed up to cause that to happen.
I mean, it's crazy because if they would have just, when he came out of the elevator, just I don't know, put the gun right to his head and be like, oh, hey, you're under arrest.
Yep, that's
There's
also
nothing he could have done.
Another
nothing
point.
he could have done. He's like, well, all right, yeah, you're right, because I don't have another trick button up my ass, so like I'm just arrested, I guess.
I am with
over.
you. I don't understand Danny Glover's character in this movie other than just to be like the obsessed cop.
That's kind of it. Because it's like it's very strange. He literally gets there so he can see. He almost catches him. They save the guy because it takes them for some reason 45 seconds to realize that. Oh, hey, how about I just shoot? That's the first thing I thought of when those drills come out on Old Boy. I was like, shoot him. Like, I don't know. I don't understand what you just
find the power button, unplug it.
Hit the same button that he hit. Like, see if that works. But yeah, so there's that. And then he so sloppily just gets his throat slit because apparently John Kramer's a big fan of Assassin's Creed.
Right, that's what Jake said. He was like, did he just Assassin's Creed that guy?
He plays a lot of Assassin's Creed, yeah.
Awesome.
Then the trap that he sets for I don't know, guys. I don't love that trap that he sets with the shotguns.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty brutal.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
kind of also like
it's kind of simple. Also, it's like just a wire,
Yeah, yeah. But it's just kind of like, I don't know, like too convenient. Like, let me set this up just in case somebody chases me down this hallway. So I can string this up.
He must have known.
He just knows all. But
I will say that I did like the little piece whenever they go there. They unveil what becomes a future trap. They don't.
Yes,
know
they unveil the trap that we're stuck in. Yeah, but it's so
I love the. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say on rewatch, you're like, oh, well, that's because the time's different. But when you're first watching it, you're like, that's the trap they're in. Figure it out.
Yeah. But I was gonna say I do like the like that little detail that he plans these things out months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Even something so simple as the trap that he's in. Like some of those are gonna take a lot of time to plan out, I would think.
Yeah. Well, the guy that he has tied to the chair is, he says, like basically a trial run for another trap.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. Like, but I thought you gave them like chances. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem like there's much of a chance for that guy. He's just like, your death will mean a lot. It's like, so you're just gonna fucking kill that guy? Like, what is this?
What did that guy do?
Yeah, we never know.
He makes a comment about it. I can't remember what it was, but he makes a comment to the guy.
Oh, you know what? I recognized that guy, and I was like, what do I recognize him from? And you know what it was?
What?
Twilight.
So he was trying to kill him before he could star in Twilight.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're going to create a mortal sin upon cinema.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small role. He just gets murdered pretty quickly by some vampires, but
That's hilarious.
Somebody out there knows what I'm talking about.
It's not anybody on this podcast.
Not your two co-hosts, I can tell you.
I took
Maybe
somebody
Sarah
on a date to watch the first one.
I took somebody on a date to watch the last one.
I actually just watched like the first one not too long ago.
I cannot
Halloween
watch
weekend,
that.
I think.
I cannot watch that first one. It is
brutally
bad.
It's so nostalgic for me. Like I can't help
you probably
but
have
like it.
nostalgia for it, but it is horribly made. Like, I hate that terrible filter they put over it.
Yes,
Oh,
I would
it's so
say
ugly.
it's like 1000% like a guilty pleasure, like that I would never just bring up unless I'm on a
Except now,
podcast where
the world knows.
the
Derek, wanna cut
soundtrack
this
just
part
gets
out?
me.
Nope, we're gonna leave it in. I want everybody to know what Lydia's guilty pleasure is.
Twilight and the
Mine
Spice Girls,
is
okay?
And the Spice Girls,
Spreadsheets.
okay? Mine is spreadsheets, he says. Jesus Christ. Because he doesn't have any movie guilty pleasures. He proudly likes fucking Lumberjack Man.
Right?
That's true.
I know. Jake's giving him ideas for other terrible movies, so like
Yeah. So, let's talk about the end game here. Basically, what the whole purpose is, because we know that Dr. Gordon is having an affair, and
Is
we
he?
know that he's about to, for sure. He's going to. I mean, that's a medical student that he's meeting him at a hotel
Right.
to 100% have sex. I mean, that's why she's undoing her shirt, and then he just feels bad about it.
Yeah, he does feel really bad. Like I don't think he was going through with it. So I don't know if he is already like previously been a cheater or
He had to have been. He had to have been because when they brought him in for questioning, he said he had an
Yes.
alibi. And this is obviously prior to all of this happening because that medical student was right before he got kidnapped. So 6
Mhm.
months, I think, is what he said ago. So about 6 months ago, he was having an affair with somebody because that was his
Okay.
alibi.
Yeah, he was visiting somebody that wasn't a patient, is what he said, his exact words. Adam's sketchy throughout the whole thing, which is his downfall, right? He's not sharing information when he should share it.
Yeah.
He's like, kind of withholding information. So he recognizes Dr. Gordon immediately because he's been following around for the past 2 days and taking pictures of him.
Mhm.
And then he doesn't share with him about the ex, the picture that he finds in the wallet.
Yeah. But he was like,
hides it.
I couldn't do it. And
Yeah,
for
he-
good
he-
reason, because that's causes a huge meltdown, you know?
Yeah, and part of me is like, oh, well, that's why he did it. But there's another part of me is just because he's kind of shady and doesn't like trust anybody.
Yeah.
And
he's definitely
doesn't
shady.
hold his own motivations. Because the way it plays out, there's this bit where when he pulls the X out and he finds the cigarette, and he's like, basically there's more than one, you don't have to shoot him to kill him. So it's like, oh, okay, so dip that in the poison blood, give him the cigarette,
Turn off the lights.
Bob's your uncle. So yeah, they come up with this plan where he's like, hey, so I need you to pretend like you're, poisoned essentially. When I do, it's like, okay. So he does the bit, and then he has the worst performance of somebody getting poisoned in the history of the world.
It's so good. It's so great. It made me laugh.
Yeah. So then he dies. So he's like,
Yeah.
now can I go? And he gets fucking his leg shocked. What do you guys think of this?
Yeah. Oh, that's when it gets real. That's when it starts getting real. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is bad. This is real bad. Like there's no way these guys are getting out. That's how you start feeling,
Yeah.
You
start to feel very nihilistic.
Yeah.
Well, their lack of urgency as well. Like 6
Yeah.
o'clock creeps up on them real fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then, so, yeah, I don't know. It,
Yeah, it kind of
that's
makes you
the
wonder
whole
what they do
control.
with a lot of that time. Were they playing like Never Have I Ever during for a couple hours since
They were working on
there?
their trust issues. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're panic thinking, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Like when I'm just in a panic, I cannot think. Ugh, hate that. When I'm
Also,
just
you would
chained
think
up in
that
an old bathroom.
It's the worst.
Yeah. So
The worst panic thinking.
you would think that the doctor in the room would be able to realize that the dead person in the middle of the room was breathing at one point.
Well, he explains why he can't do that. Remember? Like basically he's knocked himself out, and like its heart rate is like lowered.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, right? Yeah.
I remember, like, in my memory, I didn't see a scene that explained that
Yeah,
actually
but,
in this
like,
watch.
was
But
it
I
maybe in the
remember it
sequel
being like
that we get
he
that?
he like took a shot or like a pill or something that was like slowed his heart rate or something like that, you know?
Yeah, because I
But
mean, he would have to be unconscious. Because that's a long time to just lay perfectly still. I don't know about you guys,
yeah.
but I can't do
Yeah.
that.
Man, I would have had to have cleared my throat like 12,000 times.
Yeah, like
What
I
was
think
that
he was
noise?
like but like I didn't see that scene like
I didn't either.
in watching this, but I feel like it was there at one point. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I made that up.
Maybe we both did. Maybe we
Also,
both just.
Came up with that, yeah. Or maybe it's a Mandela effect, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
There you go. You don't want to get stuck on the Mandela
Don't
effect.
don't get.
Lydia, I will play that with you one day. But the other thing is like that is so the doctor, and he's probably in a ton of pressure situations all the time. He remains calm and he's thinking through things and like,
yeah, he does very well for the beginning of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because he re-listens to or at least recalls the voice thing and picks up on the fact that there's a poison in this dead guy's blood and things like that. So he's pretty sharp. He's on it.
Yeah, and Adam is just panicking through all of it because he doesn't understand any of it.
Yeah, and then
No.
the tables turn at one point, which I think is pretty cool, where good old Lawrence is freaking out, and Adam's like, "All right, hey,
At
just
6
calm down."
Yeah.
Yeah, at 6 o'clock.
Where did the time go? It's 6 o'clock, and then he's like freaking out. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where we get like the big twist. So earlier in the movie, there's a scene where the orderly Zep is his name, I do believe, right? Zep.
Yep.
Zep.
That's his name, yeah.
So we introduced to him in that early scene, like I said, and then Dr. Gordon's daughter is talking about like the nightmare guy, the evil, the guy in his room. So he goes in and he's just like, I guess he's just like, see, there's nothing there. I'm going to tell you guys right now. When my son says that there's somebody in his closet, I don't care how many times, I'm going to fucking check that closet.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like,
no kidding.
It's just like, what was the plan? What would have happened if Dr. Gordon did go into the room and did check the closet and saw Zep there? Was the plan for him to knock him out? What was the deal? Was he just going to be like, my bad, like leave? What was the backup plan here? You know what I mean?
I do not know. It's a good question.
Okay.
Well, because this was the first time that he was gonna. I think this was the first time he was gonna meet that person for sex, right?
Yes.
So it's not like he had a pattern that they could be like, oh, Wednesday nights after 10 o'clock, he goes out and he does this.
Yeah.
So you're right. It was kind of it seemed as if it was for the moment.
Yeah, and so Zep kidnaps him.
Yeah.
And there's a weird bit where he puts on like the stethoscope, and he listens to her heartbeat, and then puts the gun to it and listens to it when it speeds up. Like, what a creep.
That is a creepy scene.
He's like, why? I'm pretty sure, you had orders to kill this family if this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't think he gave you orders to creep them out.
Yeah, he's like enjoying it a little bit too much, right? Like it's kind of like almost out of character for the rest of the Saw movies, maybe. Like just, like into it when they are forced to do something.
Yeah, I'm also, I could also kind of, from a psycho's perspective, I think he's an orderly and he's around doctors all day long, right? So I'm sure there's a bit of envy, and maybe he was like, I'm just curious. I don't know. I'm trying to fill in the blanks, and that's unnecessary, but
that guy's got a dark side for sure.
Dark streak, yeah. So
what is his
Yeah, what did Zep do? Like, did we
forget
ever
what
find
his-
out?
Yeah, he does say it.
I don't
He's
remember.
Kind of like a
About-
janitor kind of scenario.
No, not that. Not that. Like, what did he do
Like,
for
what
John
was-
Kramer to? Yeah,
Yeah, pick him.
to use him.
Don't know.
I
don't know?
don't know. Something about like slipping around in the shadows, or I don't know. I forget what it was. Dang it.
Yeah, let me find out. I'm gonna look it up because it bothers me. I don't know. It doesn't really say what Zep's thing is. Oh, okay.
Interesting.
So he suffered from an inferiority complex due to his seemingly unimportant position, and developed an exceptionally sadistic personality. So I guess he just like that was
There you
it.
have it.
So in the
Yeah.
original,
Hey, I was on the right track.
He's definitely sadistic, so that makes sense.
yeah.
That
That's
explains
interesting.
the stethoscope thing.
Yeah, but we just don't get enough, like, because I guess maybe they hadn't quite picked the MO, you know what I mean? Developed the
Yeah.
MO of John Kramer yet. But yeah, so the twist is when Zep is about to. So first of all, let's backtrack a little. We find out that Adam has been hired by Detective Tapp to
Yep.
keep tabs on him because he's obsessed with Gordon, because he thinks Gordon is Jigsaw, even though he wouldn't have thought that if, like Jake and Lydia said, just he removed the helmet or the
Yes.
the hood.
The hood.
I mean, I don't know how he just didn't see John Kramer's soul patch. That thing sticks out for miles.
Well, not only that, but like, why would I mean, this is obviously for the movie, but you know, whenever he enters his lair, does he like change from his normal clothes into this like hooded thing? Like, why would he have been wearing that in his?
And why does he sound nothing like Dr. Gordon and instead talks like this?
Maybe he was working on his Batman impression.
That's what I was gonna say. Maybe he thinks he's Batman. Swear to me. But so yeah, he Tapp is basically keeping an eye on him, and they see that he sees the guy out there. And he's like, "Why are you waiting on Dr. Gordon?" So eventually, what happens is once the 6 o'clock hits, he goes to kill the family, but she fights back, and Tapp hears the struggle, and he goes in and saves the family. And then chases him down and gets shot.
Oh my god! That's so terrible, that scene, man. I'm like, your purpose in life is like just to die, apparently.
Well, the
And
funny
it's the
thing
way
is
it happened. Like, it pulled around and like he shot him in the chest as he was falling. It was weird.
Yeah. So in canon, Tapp doesn't die right now. He dies later at another test trap. Because all the games are canon. And he's your protagonist in the Saw game.
And he survived that shooting? So
Yes.
he did get shot, but he just survived. Also, like,
Correct.
one thing that we're missing, whenever he goes in to kill the mother and daughter, he had called the doctor. And he was on the phone with them, because that's what really starts the panic in
Gordon, right.
in Gordon to commit the ultimate. I mean, that's a sacrifice right there. And that's a hard one, because you're going against everything, like your entire body's like survival instinct to do what he did.
Yeah. To saw your foot
Pretty
off.
crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
That's the thing people remember most about the movie, because it's very memorable, because it's very creepy and scary and painful. You know, you just think about it, you're like, oh my god, could you imagine sawing through your own foot?
I love that scene so much.
Could have just fucking aimed for the lock, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
You know what else people remember a lot about this movie that we have not talked about at all?
What's that? Billy?
The puppet.
Yeah.
And yeah, Billy the puppet, right? And
Mhm.
the pig mask.
Yeah, the pig mask. Yep.
Those were
Those are
like
two.
huge things that like
They were
people still talk
cultural
about those.
milestones. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
cultural milestones. Billy the
I
puppet
forget.
Sure,
for
Billy.
the what?
There was just like a kid. I'm trying to think of who that was. There was a kid that was like did not want to go to the haunted house because they heard that there was someone wearing a pig mask and they were so terrified of that. And I was like, that's directly from this, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
this still like kids still hear about this movie and know that it's terrifying.
The,
Don't even know
pig
why
mask?
they know.
what?
Who wore the pig mask?
Zepp did and Kramer when they do the Kramer does when he does some of the abductions. Remember? So there's a scene earlier in the movie that I wanted to talk about. I'm glad you brought this up before we get into the end. Where when they abduct Adam, when Adam gets abducted, there's a great scene where the power goes off and he's walking around his apartment using his camera to flash as a light. Because
Also great.
nowadays he would just pull out his iPhone, but then he didn't have one, so
Yeah.
he's using the cameras to flash, and it's really cool. It's very suspenseful, and
The
then
sound?
he flashes, yeah,
The
and then
like
he
winding up like the what is that called? Like when the camera it's like recharging. The flash is recharging.
yeah,
Yeah. Ooh, that's so
and
spooky.
he sees him, and Snakes takes a picture in the closet. And he pops out wearing the pig mask and abducts him.
And it's
Yeah, and Billy the
that's
puppet.
what everyone
is-
was terrified of that.
Billy the puppet is iconic. Yeah, super terrifying and iconic. Like just such a cool. Do you want to play a
Yeah.
game? Still to this day, people think about
Yeah.
Billy the puppet. People think about the catchphrase. You want to play a game, and of course, people think about the Saw music, the ending music that plays on every single one of them. The Saw theme.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of this whole ending here, the end game? So we find out that Zeb is participating in a game. The reason that he is here is because... So first, after Dr. Gordon saws his foot off... Yes. So before Dr. Gordon saws his foot off and escapes, he shoots Adam. And he's dead. Adam's dead. So he unlocks the door so he can go. And he, escapes out. And Zep comes in because he's lost. He's lost because he didn't heal the family because Tap came in and interfered. So he gets beat to death with the
Toilet lid.
toilet lid by Adam, who's, got a lethal shot. And he finds a tape recorder. He finds his tape and plays it. And we find out that Zep was poisoned and was part of the game. His goal was if Dr. Gordon doesn't kill Adam by 6 o'clock, then he has to kill his family so he can get the antidote to the poison. So then we get the big twist, which is the man laying on the floor, the dead guy, stands up
Yes.
and pulls off this prosthetic, and we realize that it's Jigsaw. It's John Kramer. And he goes to Adam goes to shoot him, and he electrocutes his leg. And then we get the other patented Saw phrase, "Game over." And he slams the door. What do you guys
Dude,
think of this ending?
I fucking love this ending.
It's something else, man. It's so unexpected. And they're like the two main twists in this movie where he's part of the game and then that happens and you're just like, okay, I've not seen that before. So it was ahead of its time. It definitely set a new precedent for twists.
And like I said, I figured out that John Kramer was Jigsaw on my first watch, but I did not figure out. I didn't know that Zepp was part of the game. I just thought he was an accomplice, and I did not expect him to the dead guy in the middle of the room to stand up. That was
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, whoa, that's really cool. That's a good, that's a good twist. I like that a lot. And of course, that great, we get all the recaps like we always do, where it pieces all the things together for the Saw wrap up while playing the Saw song. And then game over. We're out.
Ending like with him closing the door is kind of like the Texas Chainsaw door slam too, with the sliding door.
Yeah, and
heavy metal door.
The way it ends too, it ends with a bunch of unanswered questions. Like, I mean, we don't know, much about John Kramer yet. We don't know if Dr. Gordon survived because he sawed off his foot and left. We assumed he died because he sawed off his foot and left. But we don't know. We don't see him die.
Yeah.
So we're left with this just like, unanswered questions until we get to the sequels. And we don't get the answer to that one until the very last, what was the very last of the original Saw series. The answer to Dr. Gordon's fate.
He survived.
So
right?
he does, yeah, because he's
Spoilers.
in that movie. Yeah, he's in the last movie. Well, Saw 3D. Which was what, Saw 8? No, Saw 7. Saw 7, because Saw 8 would be Jigsaw, and then Saw 9 would be Spiral, because Saw 10 is on the way.
Right.
I hope they take him to space.
Stop it. Don't even
floats
put
by.
that out there.
Do you want to play a game?
Billy's wearing a little like astronaut helmet.
Yeah, he's like, your crime was you didn't appreciate gravity when you had it.
Oh man, that would be scary. That would be me. That would be me in space right there, being terrified.
Space is terrifying. Space is very terrifying. Because in space, no one can hear you scream. Ridley Scott's Alien.
Can somebody
So,
please
guys,
pick that next?
We'll get to it probably. So that's Saw. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we get into our ratings?
I really like how they have to kind of like escape room this room, like before
It basically is an escape room. It basically
It
is
is,
an
yeah.
escape room. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Also-
the clues and like the glow in the dark X on the wall. Like I just loved all of that.
There's also the fact that Adam's key to escape was in the
drain,
tub.
in the tub.
But he drains the water out
Yeah,
and it goes down the drain.
bummer.
Yep.
So if he would have just got that, would he have just escaped? Got to leave if he would have just grabbed a key and unlocked himself?
Right. I mean, if he could have like found something to like stick in the drain, like a coat hanger or something,
Mm-hmm.
could he have fished him out? Not that there was a coat hanger in there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but still, just to say. So
he does die, right?
Adam, yes.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
bleeds to death.
Yeah, we find him. I think he starves to death. Essentially, like I don't know
Yeah,
exactly how he dies
he either bleeds out or starves to death. He's definitely dead
because
in
we
a
see his
sequel.
dead body in part 2. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
still in there.
yeah, he's still there, just laying. So, Lydia, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on Saw?
I really like this movie a lot. And sometimes I forget how much I like it, but you know what really reminded me that I loved it? Do you remember when
Watching
we went
it?
to No, but remember when we went to the haunted house?
Mhm.
When we all went and it was like playing as we were standing in line for like 2 hours.
That's right. There was that weird, and that wasn't even a good haunted house. That was the weird one.
Yeah.
It was like
yeah.
some family's house.
Oh no. It was at
Oh no,
Grissom.
no. You're talking about the Grissom one. Yeah.
Yes, it
There
was
was another
playing when
time
y'all
we
went there.
went. There's another time we went. It was with Jimmy. Jimmy, me, and I think you were there, Derek. Actually, we
I
ended
was,
up
yeah.
at
And
yeah. We went to it was some dude's house. they had a TV and it was playing Saw, but
Really?
we went to some. It was basically some dude's house, some people's house, because there was a good one. Then there's this one, and you walk through, and it's kind of like their basement. They had it like done up, and it was like there's this dude at the end that was like dressed as a troll. Really weird. Remember that?
I don't remember. I remember the one in Elwood where like they had Michael Myers and like
That was the
walked you
good
out.
one.
Yeah,
That's the good one. Yeah, that's the good one.
I
There was
think I
this
had to
other
leave
one
that
that we went
without
to.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So Lydia, back to your story. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. When we were at Grissom and we stood there for
Yes.
literally 2.5 hours in line and just saw repeated. Like I think we watched it almost 1.5 times.
Yeah, like we were just like trying to be entertained, and we were like, well, thank goodness this great movie is playing. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I forgot how good this was. So and then when we kind of brought it up last week, and I was like, yeah, we need to just cover Saw because it's great. But yeah, I don't really have too many complaints other than like the editing.
The editing is super 2000s, guys. Super early 2000s, and it's super distracting, but it's fine because it was part of the time. But
yeah,
the scene with the reverse bear trap is edited within an inch of its life.
yes, it really is. It's strobe. It's like strobe cuts.
Yeah, which was the thing. That was the way. That and speed ramps. That was the Saw staple was speed ramps and the quick editing.
But yeah, I think, oh my gosh, I give out so many 10s. But I think I want to give it a 10 because it really like changed the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It literally changed the game of horror movies and horror fans, and I think everybody was talking about it. So it's such a big deal to be around when it came out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Derek,
So
what about
10.
you?
All right. So this movie is very unique. I can't think of watching something necessarily equal, like quite like it prior to it coming out. I mean, it set up a franchise that you mentioned is going on their 10th installment of this franchise. It's not only a horror movie, but it's suspenseful. It's really well done. I mean, there's a couple of little plot holes here and there, but the concept is just, it's amazing. And it's also thought-provoking, right? Like you go into this movie and you got to peel back the things that happen in the movie, but like the message is don't take life for granted. You know what I mean? You've got somebody who's dying and then he's trying to teach these people who just go through their lives and take it for granted that, you know, they're wasting the most precious thing that they have. I'm going to give this movie a solid 9. It's a really good movie. The editing, I agree. That fast motion shit just is stupid. But other than that, like it's a solid movie. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I like it a whole lot. It was the start of ushering in basically a new genre of horror. I mean, this movie is not torture porn, but
No.
the sequels do become that for sure.
Yeah.
But it ushered in a whole new brand of horror movie, and it tells a really provocative story with some great twists. It's super tight and suspenseful, just like any James Wan, Leigh Whannell joint. They're just suspenseful, tight, compact, fun stories. This one's less fun because it's more dark, but it still is very entertaining and super interesting, and you really care about the characters, and it unnerves you, and you kind of put yourself in a situation of, what if that were me? What would I do? So yeah, I'm gonna give Saw a solid 9 as well, Derek. It's one of the best of its genre for sure of the psychological thriller genre.
Yeah.
High marks. Good job, guys. I know they're big fans of this podcast, so reaching out to
Well,
you.
if James Wan ever watches this movie or our podcast, I guess, or the series, maybe I will tally up the movies we've done and what his overall rating is. It's got to be super high because he
Oh, dude,
puts out
it's
some high
definitely
quality stuff.
it's at least an 8 or 9
Yeah,
average
Yeah.
for James Wan. Yeah,
no,
he's one of our
very good at what he does.
MVPs. He's one of our MVPs. James Wan
Yeah.
is. So Derek, let's actinize this movie.
Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me.
Detective, thrill me.
Guys,
Danny
who
Glover,
Tom Atkins.
I love that. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
You didn't even think about it, poor Danny. Danny's a 10, borderline 11. So, gone fishing joke for you guys. Yeah, that's a good choice. I mean, he'd be a good Detective Tapp. He would also be a very interesting choice for John Kramer, to be honest, too.
I can see that.
You can't replace Tobin Bell because of what he's meant to the series, but Andy would have been an interesting either one of the guys in the room too. He would have been a very good Dr. Gordon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that
And
would
then we could have,
have been cool.
yeah, Dr. Gordon. But you know, I think the work, Danny Glover is probably the weakest. So let's say that. Tap. I love you, Danny, though. All right, Derek, it is your turn to pick. Derek, it is your turn to pick the movie this week. So what are we watching next week?
Let's see. Actually, you mentioned it earlier in the episode. One of you guys did. I think we're gonna move into some Ridley Scott territory and do Alien.
Nice.
Yes.
Ridley Scott's 1979 classic.
I thought about maybe going in chronological order, which would have been not that one, because they made a prequel.
Well, the
But,
AVP.
we'll just go-
The Prometheus. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we
Which
got
I
to
love that movie.
Yeah.
I know.
That's a
We'll
good one.
get to that one day. I love Prometheus.
Yeah. But we just got to do. That's a good one. Ridley Scott's Alien. I'm excited.
I'm excited. I haven't seen it in
excited,
so long. This is gonna be like a first watch for me, so I'm like really excited.
too. You know what's really
Yeah.
funny is I was going through organizing my Blu-rays because I was moving them, and I
Mhm.
saw Alien when I was doing it, when I was putting on my horror movies, because it's right there, it's, one of the first. And I was like, oh yeah. It's like I'm thinking about watching Alien here soon. So I'm so glad that you picked it, because I've been kind of like had a hankering for watching it anyway.
Me
So
too. I almost watched it the other day.
I'm glad you didn't. So now you can watch it for the show.
Yes.
I'm super stoked. That's a good pick, Garrett. So next week, watch Aliens. I think Alien is available on HBO Max. Let me double check. It was at one point.
I think I just looked it up and like it's probably not.
Okay, so
anywhere or
it
something.
is on Stars now. So if you have Stars, you can also rent it from the Roku channel, Amazon Prime, Hulu. It's available on Hulu, Sling, and Apple TV. So I have it
On Sling?
on Blu-ray. So there you go.
I think I might have it actually.
So next week, Ridley Scott's Alien. Be sure to tune in for that one. You can follow us on the interwebs, you can find us at HiLaProductions.com for all your merch and information. You can find us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can follow us on Twitter follow Derek at DDogTheMaster, Lydia at Lydia Spooky, and me at Racket. You can also listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, any of your podcasting listening choices. Be sure to tune in next week for Ridley Scott's Alien. Anything else, guys? No? All right. Well, if there's nothing else for Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I am Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies. Talk to you next week.